You've got this.
Welcome to You've Got This. Today I'm going to show you how to make sourdough pizza. It is a family favorite and I hope you enjoy it too. So what we're going to do with our bowl on the scale, turning it on, I'm going to use active starter. This is directly from my refrigerator. So I used this yesterday. I let it get bubbly and then popped in the refrigerator before it was fully done eating through its food. So this is still active. I don't need to wait till it comes to room temperature. But if this was dormant in the refrigerator for a little while, you would want to activate your starter on the counter overnight before going for this recipe. So as you can see, doubled and bubbly, active starter. This is what we're using. I'm going to go with, for 2 pizzas, 150 grams of starter. Now, if you've watched any of my other sourdough videos, you'll know that it just doesn't matter. That's 193 grams. Perfect. Because it's actually a little cold today, so the extra starter is going to give my stuff a boost, so it keeps fermenting a little faster than it would ordinarily on a cold day. So to that starter, this water is filtered water that has the chlorine evaporated out of it. You just have the filtered water, if it's from your refrigerator, leave it out on the counter overnight so the chlorine evaporates. Or you could boil it if you don't have time to do that, or get bottled water, but the chlorine will slow down the yeast activity. This water I popped in the microwave for a minute just to get it a little bit warmer, because like I said, on this cold day, we want to start to activate things faster, and temperature makes a big difference in sourdough fermentation time. So this is just barely warm to the touch. You don't want it too hot or it will kill off the sourdough starter, which will defeat the purpose. So we're going to do 400 grams of water. 406. Looks great. Get that mixed up to dissolve the starter in the water. And then to that, I'm going to add olive oil. Olive oil is clutch for a nice, soft, stretchy pizza crust. So to this, it's a hearty bloop is what it is. It's going to be 20 to 30 grams. For 2 pizzas, probably around 20 grams. But it just doesn't matter. Bloop. That looks good. It's about 20 grams. Get that mixed in before we add our flour. And the flour is going to be about 650 grams. If you're doing baker's math with sourdough, this is going to be approximately a 66% hydration, which is a low hydration for bread, but still solidly in the bread category. Da, da, da. There we go. All right, to this, we'll add our seasonings. Always salt, always salt. Sourdough needs salt, otherwise it just doesn't taste good. So this is going to be 2 teaspoons, which is equal to 15 grams of salt. And then seasonings. I like garlic powder and oregano. You follow your heart. Put whatever sounds good to you. But garlic powder and oregano make it smell so amazing, just like a little pizza parlor. So that's what I go with. A hearty sprinkle of each over the top, so it looks like that. And you get it all mixed up. There we go. So what we're left with is a pretty stiff dough. If you're used to baking with sourdough at all, you know that your bread is usually going to be a little bit wetter than this, but this dough is decently stiff. So what we're going to do is get this covered, and then for a traditional bread, you're going to do a lot of stretch and folds or coil folds because you want to build up that elasticity, the snap-backedness factor. But for pizza dough, we want the extensibility. We want it spreadable at the end. So we're not going to work it a whole lot to get the gluten bonds built on each other and get the elasticity. We are going to leave it completely mixed like this. Make sure you get all of your flour in there and incorporated, because this is the big mix right here. And then we're going to leave it out to ferment, and about halfway through our fermentation, whenever you think about it, we're going to give it 1 round of stretch and folds. That's just to get everything nice and spread, get the temperature of the outside and the inside mixed up and combined so that everything ferments about the same pace. But we're not going to do a whole lot to this today. It's a very, very simple recipe, very simple thing to do. Now, again, like I said, it's cold today. I'm going to put the lid on. Give me a second. I'm going to put the lid on this dough. I'm going to put it inside my microwave with the light on because the light's right here, it's going to heat up the microwave just enough to keep it nice and warm. If you don't have this set up, you could always put it down here with the light on. That will keep it warmer also. I don't recommend putting it in your oven with the light on because invariably at some point someone's going to want to preheat the oven to make something and it will just be a mess. But if it is not cold in your house or it's not wintertime right next to a window, leave it on the counter. So from the morning to dinner time is going to be plenty of time for it to ferment. But you get to just learn to read the dough, and what your starter is going to do is going to be different depending on the temperature in your house. So if it's warm in your house, leave it on the counter. It is about 8:30 right now, and so I want to start making this pizza about 8.5 hours. Perfect. If it's warm in the house, that will be plenty of time for it to ferment through. But with it being cold in the house, I do need to give it a little bit of a boost with some light and some warmth. Otherwise, I could let it ferment most of the way today, pop it in the refrigerator to pause overnight, and bake it tomorrow. But I want pizza tonight. So in the microwave it goes. With the surface light on. We'll come back in the middle of the day and I'll show you the stretch and fold. So because we used the starter, I'm going to go ahead and feed it so it's ready for the next time I want to use it. There are differing opinions on this. You could just leave it in your refrigerator with just a little bit that's left and then feed it and activate it on your counter next time you want to use it. But I use mine very frequently, so I always feed it after I use it. All right, 0 and grams. There we go. Because I took out nearly 200 grams, that's what I'm going to feed it with. You just want to remember, always feed it with more flour than you have leftover starter. So I'll feed it with 100 grams of water, 100 grams of flour, because I had approximately 60 grams left in the jar. So that's perfect. Feeding it with more flour than leftover water. That doesn't go there. Put the water in my jar and then I'm stirring it up to get the stuff on the sides kind of dissolved and get things started mixing. That's just my personal preference. You do you, but this is my favorite way to get my starter fed. So now that that water is mixed in, zero out my scale. There we go. Feed it with that 100 grams of flour to go with my 100 grams of water. I like to use a butter knife to stir it because it makes it easier to wipe off on the sides of the jar when I'm done. Get that all stirred up. It's worth mentioning at this point, if you had a lot of starter left in your jar and you didn't want to feed all of it, you could always pour off that extra starter into a jar in your refrigerator to just keep for discard recipes for things that you don't want the rise power in, for cookies or muffins that call for discard. Kind of nice to have that extra, so you don't even have to throw it in the trash can if you don't want to feed all of it. There's always something you can do with a sourdough discard. So that's all mixed up. That's going to look like brownie batter, thick enough to hold its shape when the bubbles start forming. Looks great. Now that starter will be kept in the refrigerator after I'm going to leave it on my counter and let it eat through some of its food, start rising, because I use this so often, like I said. So the way that you can think about starter is because it's alive and because it eats through the food that you feed it with, the longer you need it to wait for you before you use it again, that's how much food you want to leave for it to eat. So because I'll probably end up using this tomorrow, I'm going to let it ferment most of the way, eat through most of the food. And then before it's completely peaked, I'll pop it in the refrigerator so that it has a little bit to slow eat overnight and it'll stay active for me by the time I want to use it next. Again, my personal preference. You'll find your way and it will be a fabulous way. But all the little tips and tricks from the way other people do it are fun to know. All right, it is actually 2 hours-ish from when we're going to use this. So it's been sitting in the microwave with the light on for about 5.5 hours. And the light did it the trick, you guys. Look at that rise. So this is a good doubling on the rise. And check out that jiggle. We've got lots of life in this. So I just washed my hands and left them wet so that the dough doesn't stick to my hands. I'm just going to give it a quick little stretch and fold. Deflated quite a bit, but that's okay. There we go. So now, because it did all of that nice rising in the microwave with the light on, and this, you can smell is nice and fermented. I'm going to leave it on the counter for the rest of the 2 hours before dinner time. Just covered like this, set aside to finish fermenting, and then we'll make pizza tonight. All right, everything is fully fermented and it's time to make our pizzas. I have a pizza stone preheating in the oven. I have the oven set at 425, anywhere between 4 and 425 is going to be perfect for the pizza. And then here's our pizza dough. It's amazing. So what we're going to do is take a little olive oil, put that on our hands to spread out this pizza. Because it's fully fermented, I don't want to get any unfermented flour on it because I do have that gluten sensitivity. But if you don't, you can use flour to put this pizza spread out if you would like, but olive oil works great. So this does make 2 large pizzas or 3 small pizzas, and that's what I'm going to do tonight is the 3 small pizzas. So I'm just going to grab this, pinch off approximately 1/3. And then before I put it down on parchment paper, the parchment paper is what I'm going to spread it out on so that I can easily pick that up and slip it into the oven. I'm going to stretch it like this, grabbing the thicker portions and just kind of stretching and letting its own weight stretch it out a little bit thinner before we flop it down on the parchment paper. So here we go. On this one, so you can see it. Down on the paper it goes. Then with the oiled hands, I'm going to very gently press and stretch. I don't want to push and mash all of the bubbles out of my pizza dough. I just want to gently stretch it. I am getting it decently thin, but again, not smashed. Pizza! We're having pizza tonight. Sure, can you go wash your hands first? No. Yay! You gotta go wash your hands. No. Okay. Okay, so when it's done, it's gonna look like that. Pretty, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. Pretty thin. I like to leave a little lip around the edge for the crust. And there we go. And I'm gonna spread the other 2. All right, and then we're going to top it, and I'll show you what it looks like and there we go, topped and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pizza peel to pick these up. You could use just a flat cookie sheet, but we'll slide it right under that parchment paper. So spreading it out on the parchment paper made it so that it can go directly into the oven. You can pop this in there for 12 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. 12 minutes is up. That looks amazing.
You've got this.